Hello again, YouTube. A Level Halls, prior enlisted Marine, and history buff, and overall just somebody who does a lot of research. And this one is actually a technology that's kind of coming back to the fro that was way ahead of its time when it was developed. The first known model that I know of was in 1903. It was called a transmissionless car. Now, to those of you who are mechanic savvy or like, how does a car go without a transmission? It's part of the drivetrain. That's kind of important there, buddy. Well, Dr. Ferdinand Porsche, my favorite automaker of all time, developed the car in 1903. It was a front wheel drive machine, and it had a gasoline engine that turned a generator that turned electric motors at the wheels, and that's how it went. And it was called a transmissionless design. It's actually come to prominence amongst the various freight trains that you see. And actually, a lot of them are using what's called diesel electric. It uses a similar system. In fact, it actually did not go away in 1903. It later on saw prominence in the submarine Holland when it first sailed, the first diesel electric submarine, and was actually prominent amongst our Gato class submarines and also even the Type 7 U boats. It was very, very prominent stuff. And it just hasn't been viable up to this point to put in something as small as, say, a car. It faces reliability issues at the moment, and it simply is a matter of getting it to shrink down without losing the reliability factor. And so it has been experimented with a little bit amongst military vehicles, which I honestly think is a very good idea. They haven't done anything like a tank, which I honestly think, based on what I've heard about this technology so far, sounds like it'd be more viable to put it into, say, the 60-ton Abrams than it would be to put in, say, a Humvee. But, yeah, it's like, that's how they want to go with it. Personally, I would love to try and perfect this technology because, after all, I don't know if some of you remember it, but there was actually a commercial that Norfolk Southern put on where they could move a single ton of cargo 140 miles on a single gallon of diesel. That's per ton about 140 miles to the gallon. That is a lot of fuel economy. Now, even just using their numbers, say I was to put it into my truck. Using 140 miles to the gallon, that would make my truck that goes from 20 miles to the gallon at best to, say, 70 miles to the gallon. That's pretty impressive. It's like my truck has a 20-gallon tank, meaning I could fill it up here in Buena Vista, go out onto I-64 and go west and go like until I run out of gas, and I'd run out somewhere around Oklahoma City, about 1,800 miles away. So it is one that I would love to see a little bit more research and development put into, especially in this day and age. I mean, come on, if it was, say, 140 miles to the gallon per ton, your car weighs about a ton and a half. Let's see. That would put it at about, probably about 90 or so miles to the gallon. And that's without you doing anything special. So, I would love to be able to see it put into, say, a car. And anybody who can actually get that kind of fuel economy these days, they've got a huge advantage. Yeah, it's like if you could drive it normally and be able to get that kind of fuel economy, something resemble normally, you could actually go quite a ways. It's like, say, that kind of. I've been able to max out my car's fuel economy at 57.6. And even then, going, and when I was still working in the distribution center in Mount Crawford, every day I would I could get about 3 trips out of it before I had to fuel up. I couldn't go the whole week. And then I'd have to put, these days, my $40 worth of gasoline into the car, 10 gallons. Now, with that being said, I could probably go about 2 weeks like that. Almost 2 weeks worth of work. I definitely have a big improvement because I haven't been able to hit 57 going back and forth to Mount Crawford. That is my best average of 400 miles. Now, at night, at the 90 miles to the gallon, that car of mine would be able to make more than just a week's worth of work going back and forth. At 70 miles a gallon, my truck could do it with that big 20-gallon tank. I'd have to put 15 in it every time I fill it up because that's when the dummy light comes on. The one that says low fuel dum dum. So the transmissionless design has a ton of potential, and I would love to see it happen. And it would, and in this day and age, being able to make your vehicle do 70, it's like, say something big like a Silverado 2500 could do 50 miles to the gallon. That's absolutely unheard of. To make, uh, say, the little economy car that you got, like say you've got, I love my General Motors vehicle, so I'm going to just use an example. Say you've got a Chevy Sonic. Well, that Sonic, all of a sudden, it's got maybe 100 miles to the gallon. And you could go back and forth just like that. And ironically, the faster you drive it, because if you can have the engine turn the generator at full song, the engine could be idling the whole time. So if it's idling the whole time, you could actually drive it faster, and the engine won't go vroom vroom. You don't bump up the RPM, so you don't lose that much gasoline, much fuel economy on acceleration. Granted, trains are a lot bigger than that. They have to do a little bit more than that. That's why they sound big and aggressive when they're accelerating. And it's because they're a heck of a lot heavier. Just one of the cars counts for tons and tons and tons. And that's if they're empty. So those trains have to have beefier engines that wind up a little bit more. So we might even be looking at more than that. But it was first called the transmissionless design in 1903, as far as I can tell, by Dr. Ferdinand Porsche. One of the reasons he was one of my favorite automakers is because 3 years earlier, he made something that sounds like it came out of Tesla, out of one of the Tesla factories. All-wheel drive, electric. That was amazing. And he did it years before the Model T came into prominence. Yeah, that's a good reason to like this guy. But when it comes down to it, I think it's time to see if the technology has come to fruition. If we've advanced the technology enough that we could put it into something small, like, say, a car or a pickup truck. And it's like, in all honesty, if I had the money to do it right now, I'd refit my little 98 S10 to actually have this technology. But I figure even on a shoestring budget, I'm looking at $20,000. But I don't have that. So, and that's me doing the drafting as the drafter. My cousin, who's an electrical engineer, doing any schematic work that needs to be done with that, using VMI to do the mechanical engineering work as basically their senior project, and my brother doing the machining, and everybody that I know has mechanical skills helping me assemble the thing. So that's absolute shoestring budget there, because basically none of these people, including myself, are going to get paid for this if I was able to do this. So it would be a little bit more expensive, but at the end of the day, I don't know what your fuel economy is with my truck. If I got 70 miles to the gallon, that'd be more than triple what I'd normally do. So my truck having that kind of range, yeah, that'd be kind of crazy. My car having the being smaller and lighter, 90 miles a gallon, that's almost double. And that's without me doing anything particularly crazy. No changes to the air pressures, just making sure they're just properly inflated, but not a little overinflated, which is what is actually said to help with fuel economy, which does help, by the way. And it was like, no, 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 no. I don't have to do anything particularly crazy. I don't have to drive it like 55 everywhere I go. And it basically makes it so that way that car can go so much farther. At 90 miles to the gallon, the 10 gallons would make it so that way it could go 900 miles, where the best I've been able to do is 570. That's quite a distance. But anyhow, it's one of those things that I would really like to see come to be. But this is one of the is a area of technology that I have a lot of fun ideas. I would love to work for General Motors as a drafter. Because after all, I think between what can be done in the automotive field versus what is being done, I think we're leaving a little bit on the table. And I'd love to be able to bounce the ideas off the engineering team there and see if we can do a little bit better. And just blow the daylights out of somebody like, say, Toyota. Because I guarantee you we can do a lot better. In fact, I honestly think that we could actually mix two general engineering philosophies. Germany, excellent out of the factory, but very maintenance intensive. Russia, sucks out of the factory, but very easy to work on. Why can't we do peanut butter and chocolate and get the best of both worlds out of that? But yeah, it's like, and the transmissionless design is one of the things that I honestly think we need to take the time at to look towards and see if we can do this again. And that being said, I've been Lovell. You guys have been awesome. You guys have a good day now.